Hi, my name is Hannah Knowles, and I'm here to talk to you about the strengths of the Marvel Company. Strengths are an internal factor that help the company grow. Today, when talking about the strengths, I'll be talking about the large fan base. We have over 24 million comic book fans, and we sell around 50,000 in a month. An extensive product line depth that we have includes the characters. Marvel has over 4,700 characters. We also have licensing, which is our most successful market branch. With licensing royalties, we have made about $5.8 billion in it. One of the cool factors of our licensing deal that we have is other companies are able to use our characters, and we don't really have to do anything. We just benefit off the sales that these companies produce. So you could take stuffed animals, t-shirts, just any other way for another company to use any of Marvel's characters. That's essentially just benefiting us without the company having to put any extra work.
Hi, my name is Tyler Patterson, and while those were some of our strengths, I'm here to talk about some of the weaknesses that Marvel as a company will face. So one of the main pieces of criticism that we get is that Marvel is too dependent on a limited set of characters, and it has milked the best gains from some of its characters. And while this is definitely a weakness that we face, we feel it's not one of our most major weaknesses, because there is a lot of potential to gather a lot of revenue out of each of our individual characters by making movie sequels, or conglomerate movies between some of our more major characters like Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the like. In addition to this, we have over 4,700 characters, so we have a long range of characters that we can potentially gather more revenue from, which brings us to our second threat, which is that Marvel will leave money on the table with its licensing deals, and we miss big opportunities for revenue. Once again, while this is a threat because we're failing to gather revenue that would otherwise be our own, we're still not actually losing anything because this is an opportunity cost, not an actual cost. Like, we're losing none of our own money, just failing to potentially gather free revenue. However, our biggest threat is going to be that Marvel operates on a hit-and-miss business where we have high-risk investments. And this is definitely our biggest weakness as a company, because if we try to make a, say, $10 million movie that only generates $1 million in revenue, then we aren't going to make very much money back. So while there's a huge potential for gathering back revenue on investments, it's still a large risk that we take as a company. So let's move on to the next.
All right, those are some of our weaknesses. My name is Greg Nelson, and I'm going to be talking about our external opportunities. So our first one is going to be our licensing. Like Hannah said, we have a lot of companies using products in our name, like making t-shirts and different apparel that we need to capitalize on and get our royalty from them. Another one is going to be different films. We have a lot of opportunity with the films because we can keep making more, and we have a big demographic that is always going to be coming back. So those will move us into our strategic plan. Our first one is we need to utilize the revenue that we're not getting from the royalties. Any extra space that we're not getting from there, we need to make sure we capitalize on. The second one is going to be, we should start making more movies that cater to like stars that we haven't had, like background characters or just different characters we haven't used before. Thanks.
Those were a couple of our opportunities. Now we're going to move on to threats. My name is Kevin Ann, and I'm going to be in charge of those. Alright, so we're going to be looking at one major threat, and as you know, threats are external factors that are detrimental to the company. Right? And so one of the bigger detriments towards the company is the exposure to an economic downturn. And so with economic downturns, you can see that Marvel has experienced this in the 2003-2004 fiscal year. 2003 to 2004, the Marvel company has experienced an 80% decrease in net income, which is pretty bad. So with that, we're kind of thinking about how whether or not Marvel is a bull or a bear market right now. Just in terms of stocks and stuff. And so what we are predicting is that Marvel is actually a bear market at this current moment, just because of how it's not necessarily doing so well, and it is decreasing at an 80% too, so that's pretty big. And so with that, the biggest problem with that is just with poor financial performance. Of course, there are other factors with that, but again, that is the biggest one. And so, along with other threats that aren't so big, is just the lack of, and this was touched on in the opportunities, one of the threats is that we do not necessarily go out and try to do things with the licensings, just because of how we have given these through the exclusive rights of the other companies, and with that we don't necessarily have control with whether or not we can take those licensings back and make them use it for ourselves. So that's one of the threats of those, and so those are two of the couple bigger threats. And so I would like to thank you guys for taking your time of watching this video. You guys have a